Welcome to The Success Face, a YouTube channel dedicated to exploring the skills and strategies that successful leaders use to achieve their goals. In today's video, we're excited to dive into the topic of executive presence with Harrison Monarth. Executive presence is a critical trait for leaders to develop, as it involves the ability to project confidence, charisma, and credibility in any situation. Harrison Monarth is a renowned expert on the subject, and we're looking forward to learning from his insights and expertise. So join us as we explore the importance of executive presence and learn how to develop it in ourselves. Talent alone will not guarantee your success in business. In point of fact, not only what you know but how you manage perception determines your advancement. Build and maintain an executive presence, a respectable personal image, to gain influence in your company. There is a whole behavioral discipline behind effectively communicating through the casting of positive perception, and when one masters it, one's accomplishments can become legendary. Although you may not consider yourself a salesperson, you are one. You are selling whenever you try to get someone to see your point of view. People can't help but pitch their ideas, hopes, desires, and requirements to those in their immediate environment. Every human interaction revolves around the pitch. The success of your pitch is ultimately determined by how your audience perceives you, not by your message, intention, or anything else. Moving up and becoming optimally effective once you are there require executive presence. What factors influence someone's interpretation of your message? The five senses provide information to individuals. Hearing, sight, smell, touch, and taste. You can, to a certain extent, control what your audience members perceive through their senses by dressing appropriately, maintaining a pleasant scent, controlling your voice, and so forth. But once people take in information, they sort it through 5 different perception categories. These, according to the field of study known as neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, are: the way people's minds work is known as metaprograms. Belief systems are their individual worldviews. Values, what they think is right or wrong, good or bad. Memories refer to the occurrences and lessons learned that shaped their lives. The information they gained as a result of their choices is referred to as their past decisions. Since our first screams for food or attention were shrieked from the crib, we are basically always pitching. These filters are applied to the data that comes in. For instance, if an environmental activist learns that the speaker is the CEO of a company that caused an ecological hazard, they might stop listening to the speech. Due to the fact that the listener completely or partially blocks out the message, this type of filtering is known as deletion. Additionally, messages are distorted by people's filters to conform to their beliefs. For instance, the lobbyist could stay open to the president's message in light of the defense that it could help the local area in a manner that offsets the possible ecological damage. People create personal truths based on their experiences when they generalize. For instance, if your boss consistently rejects your ideas, you might become pessimistic about seeking new opportunities to share them and even try to sabotage your presentations or avoid those opportunities. Increasing your social IQ, the authoritative, do what I say, no questions asked, management style of previous decades is no longer in use. It is not appropriate for the workplace of today. Instead, managers need to develop their social intelligence, SI, in order to improve their executive presence. The capacity to influence how other people perceive you is social intelligence. The 5 aspects of SI are presence, or your projection of confidence and awareness; clarity, your message's clarity; mindfulness, your capacity to read individuals; authenticity, how sincere you appear to be; and empathy, or your capacity to empathize with others' feelings. You can't get to the result you want unless you go through the often rusty gate of human perception with all of its problems. If you do exercises every day, you can raise your SI in a week. First day. Enhance your hyperawareness of the world around you. Try to use all of your senses, especially in situations like driving to work that you often take for granted. Tuan Day. To determine your strengths and weaknesses, look within. Third day. Experiment with honesty and project your genuine emotions to determine your authenticity. Fourth day. Concentrate on speaking directly and simply. Fifth day. Empathize with others' feelings by putting yourself in their shoes. Sixth day. Listen with empathy and attention. Seventh day. Make an arrangement for proceeding to rehearse these methods. Reading people is a skill you can develop and improve as part of cultivating your executive presence. You can read people and accurately understand situations. As you figure out how to decipher individuals' words and activities, you'll have a higher possibility getting your ideal result. Pay attention to what people say as well as how they express themselves, including how they move their bodies. Be aware of how your interactions are influenced by context. Examine how your personal filters may distort the true and useful meaning of that data, following your observations and data collection. When it comes to how people filter information, to each his own, has never been more true. It's easier to read about people you know well. You can learn about a person's baseline, or normal responses to everyday events, by becoming familiar with them. You can reevaluate your initial impressions to remove your biases as you become familiar with any patterns. Then you can make more precise judgments. Engineering buy-in. Your bosses, coworkers, and employees will all judge you based on how you lead your team and inspire others with a sense of purpose. Although an authoritative management style may persuade subordinates to comply with your directives, it will not result in buy-in. People may comply, but only if they are afraid of negative outcomes. Instead, get people to buy in by making work a team effort toward a common goal. Consider Google. The company adopted a culture that encourages buy-in at all levels rather than employing command and control management. The end result is a workforce that works hard, is motivated, and is happy. Make every effort to ensure that everyone in your company shares shared values in order to get buy-in. Make sure that the objectives of all of your projects are in line with the values of your company. To keep employees invested in your objectives, give them a say in business decisions. The art of storytelling. Great leaders have always known that telling stories is the best way to get people to feel something. People won't be ignited by facts and figures or an outline of the company's goals in the same way. Focus on a theme. Use powerful understatement, Transport the listener by varying your pace and including vivid descriptions, be brief, and keep it simple to make a story compelling. To educate, motivate, and enliven your audience, make use of a variety of narratives. Case studies, for instance, relate actual events to illustrate a point. These accounts are frequently utilized as instructional tools by professors at business schools. Real-life success stories are also based on positive outcomes, as the name implies. Success stories are most effective when they feature likable characters who successfully overcome challenges. In contrast, rumors are a kind of story that could be bad. They have the potential to harm people's perceptions and reputations. Respond immediately to rumors in order to protect your executive presence. Accept responsibility for your actions if a rumor is true. If not, specify where the rumor differs from the truth. Hire a trustworthy third party to check your account. Ethically, don't try to get what you want by manipulating others. Having the right attitude among your constituency is an important part of improving your executive presence. A short-term strategy called manipulation involves getting other people to do things for you without giving them any advantage. On the other hand, persuasion encourages others to take action because it will benefit them as well. Respected leaders employ ethical persuasion, which adheres to the following tenets. The visibility principle: individuals rely on the familiar. As a result, the more you interact directly with others, the more they will trust you and your message. The supply control principle states that shortages drive up demand. You have the opportunity to persuade other people to take action when you have a genuine, limited supply of time or benefits. The outlining rule. Outlining is the production of setting and mental designs that summon explicit mental pictures and implications that shape individuals' perspective on the world. Always be careful when choosing your words. Avoid disclaimers like, "I am not a crook," by Richard Nixon. According to research, the word "not" does not reach people's subconscious, so such statements elicit negative emotions from listeners. The authority principle states that people are more receptive to receiving instructions from authoritative figures. To earn the trust of other people, make use of any power you have. The evidence principle: use research or endorsements from third parties to back up your claims and increase your credibility. The likability principle states that people want to believe what they like to believe. To bond with others, show interest in them and subtly mirror their body language. The principle of reciprocity states that if you help others, they will want to do the same for you. This makes it easier to build relationships where persuasion is natural and easy. The experience principle: to reach your audience, create a visceral experience that engages their emotions and makes them feel like they are personally experiencing something. The highlighter rule: underscore the positive pieces of your message, yet try not to distort or concealing insights. Recognize any opposing viewpoints. The passion principle: it's hard to sell something you don't believe in. When you find your passion, others will follow you. Resolution of conflict is inevitable, particularly in the workplace. However, disagreements shouldn't harm your relationships with other people or undermine your executive presence. Rather than issues of right and wrong, differences in style and approach frequently cause conflict. Conflict isn't always bad. It can even strengthen relationships when handled well. An otherwise reasonable disagreement can be detonated in a conflict by a tiny speck of emotion. Use active listening when you're having a disagreement. Clearly define boundaries for behavior early on in the discussion. To hear all counterpoints objectively, be aware of your filters and biases. Accept the viewpoints of others, even if you disagree with them, and put yourself in their shoes so that you can relate to how they feel. Be thoughtful, and substitute "I" articulations for allegations. To keep the other parties receptive to your feedback, be positive about them. Last but not least, avoid criticizing those involved and instead focus on the issues at hand. Your own image. Marketing is presently not exclusively the area of items or organizations. Professionals of today need to develop personal brands, which can be represented by an executive presence. Every impression you make on others, whether at work, online, in the community, or at home, is the culmination of your brand. It is undesirable to have a random brand that you did not shape, so take charge of developing your personal brand. Take charge of monitoring every aspect of how the general public perceives you. An enlightened communicator understands how to give criticism in a way that makes it feel more like mentoring and support than punishment. The internet has evolved into a haven for both personal and business branding. Take a cue from the comedian Dane Cook. When Cook decided to establish an online presence, he had been performing stand-up comedy for a number of years. As his website gained popularity, more people started going to his shows. He is now one of the most well-known comedians in the world. We live in a society where branding is how people define themselves. Cook targeted individuals who cared about his message in his marketing. You ought to do likewise, utilizing YouTube, Facebook and other web-based entertainment destinations. Create a personal brand that reflects your core identity. Without authenticity, it won't last. Be relatable and likable, but avoid being predictable. Discuss topics that interest you and voice your opinions on them. Take up a cause or join a group that shares your interests and could use your assistance. Your good deeds will reflect positively on your brand. The primary component of the process of attracting good fortune or what others perceive to be pure blind luck is your personal brand, or executive presence. There are numerous opportunities to enhance your personal brand in the media. Here are some pointers. Fashion yourself as a thought leader. There are experts in every field. You might be it. Mind your message. Compose a succinct soundbite that effectively conveys your message. It ought to pique the interest of the media and inspire them to quote you. Richard Branson, the British business tycoon, is the best at creating a stunt. Create an event that will draw attention to you in order to get the attention of the media. Compose something beneficial. In the event that you are an expert in your field, think about distributing an article, white paper or book.